It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on a very wet Saturday morning. You know, the old saying, March comes in like a lion, goes out like a lamb, is not the case this year.
It's gonna be April.
Yeah,
it's gonna be April instead, which isn't all that unusual. But
you know, you look at just the rain totals. We were talking before we started the show. We started out the month with almost an inch of rain, and we're going to finish it with more than an inch of rain.
Yeah. So big storm this weekend. Yeah.
A lot of water.
So I saw the storm was coming in. So last night I took off from work just a little bit early. Left a little bit after 5. Didn't stay till close, and I got my humate on, and I put my fertilizer on because I knew it was going to rain. On top of that, and then I had a little bit extra time. It's still light outside, and which is amazing. I love it that the sun hasn't gone down at like 5:30.
Yeah.
And so I had a few other trees left to prune. So I pruned my peach tree that's only like 4 years old, and that thing has grown so much the last year or two that it's just I couldn't reach the top. And so that's grown like crazy. I pruned another nectarine tree, and I pruned my apricot tree, and then I noticed my red bud was doing some weird growth, like some branches were crawling over the top of each other, so I went in and tried to clean those out too. But it's so nice to be able to go home and get a few things done out in the yard before it actually gets dark outside. Yeah, and I was hoping I could get my onions planted, but it was still too wet. It was still too wet. So that would have been a very productive evening if I could have planted my onions. And I've got a little bit of spinach and lettuce to plant as well too, but did get the peas in before all the storms last week, so it's been good.
We had some sports commitments last night because I was like you wanting to put some fertilizer down before, and sports kind of took precedence. So today, in the midst of the rain, I'm going to be out throwing a little fertilizer on the lawn and just get it laid down real quick and. Plenty of water over this weekend to be able to fertilize. If you're looking to really spruce up your lawn, this is a great weekend for it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I'll bet we'll get some breaks in between the storms, too, so you get out there and do a little bit of that. But we also have a lot of bare root plants in stock still. So now everything is here. So we got our grapes came in this week. Our asparagus came in this week. So we've got those available now. They've been a little slow coming in. Strawberries are here. Got pretty good selection of raspberries still, and I've got more coming, but then all the fruit trees are here as well too. So all of our fruits are available right now. It took us a little bit of time the end of last week, first part of this week, to get them all inventoried and tagged and separated, but we've got those all ready to go. So great time to grab those bare root, and depending on how warm it gets in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably only have the bare root trees for maybe another 2 weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah, about two weeks. Some of them are starting to leaf out already, and we like to get them planted before they leaf out. So if some of them are really leafing out, we're going to have to start potting them up. And so better come grab them. Even though the weather's not as cooperative today, it would be a great day to come in and grab those because the conditions for planting are going to be perfect next week. Okay. It looks like we got some high 50s and 60s come next week. So
by middle of next week, 59 to 60, 61. So
I'm going to be out there planting the rest of my stuff in my garden.
Nice.
I've got an apricot tree to replace too, so we're trying to decide what to put in there. So it's like I could do a Wolf River apple. This is an apricot my dad was nursing for many years. He thought it was going to die every year, and we've just kept it going. And then last spring I went out there, and during the winter, I don't know if it was because of the snow or whatever, it had just split.
Oh.
So it was
done.
It was done. Yeah, it was done. So I got to replace that. So I'm like, I really want to plant another nectarine, but somebody brought some samples of the Wolf River apples in last year, and they were amazing. And so I was like, we could try Wolf River. I got a spot. I got to decide.
Yeah. It's always a hard choice.
I know, these hard decisions. Maybe we'll try one of the kind of combo fruits, not the ones that have different varieties on each tree, but the ones like the dapple dandy. It's a combination of an apricot and a plum together. Or I've got a plueri as well too, so it's a cross between a cherry and a plum. And so those could be kind of fun. I don't have any of those in our orchard, so that could be pretty good.
All right.
Some fun things happen at Anderson's this weekend.
I was going to say, because we were joking about the rain this morning, and unfortunately that is really going to put a damper on a lot of the early Easter egg hunts that are outdoors.
Right.
But luckily at Anderson Seed and Garden, you guys are inside.
Yes. And we do have a really cool Easter event going on. We've never done this before, but a whole bunch of businesses downtown, especially on Center Street, we all kind of got together, and we've created our Golden Easter Egg Hunt. And so the Golden Egg Hunt goes on today, and it starts at Anderson's. I would love to mention all the businesses that are participating, but that kind of ruins the surprise where you've got to get the clues to go find the eggs.
Go to the
other businesses. So I don't want to give those away.
Yes.
So,
but if they're on Center Street, those are the ones.
Those are probably the ones. So and it's not everybody. We're kind of like we're a little got to mix it up a little bit. So. So come to Anderson's. There is a clue there to start. That'll get you going. It'll tell you where to go. And then the prize at the end of the hunt, the golden egg, there's $300 worth of really cool prizes in there from all these different businesses. And so from our business, we've got a seed collection. So it's like my favorite seeds. In one of our seed collections.
Last week.
Yeah. So it's got my favorite seeds, so it's Mark's favorites. And then we also have a flat of pansies. So the prizes total about $300 from all the different businesses that we're working with. But it'll be downtown. Bring your umbrella, so you don't get too wet as you chase around between places. But the Golden Egg Hunt should be a lot of fun. So start at Anderson's, and it's going all day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going all day. And then we've got primroses on sale as well too. And the primroses, they're usually $4.99 or $3.99, and we've got them on sale for $2.25. Yeah, so $2.25, and they're all in bloom right now. The pansies look great, and we also got all the pansies planted on Center Street this week. So even though it was cold and it snowed on them 3 times after we got them planted, pansies look great out there. They're starting to get established and get going. So
they're hardy little guys.
They are hardy. They can handle the cold, and they can handle the snow and the frost and everything. And so it's looking colorful out there on Center Street. So it's a good place to be. Especially today if we're doing the Golden Easter Egg Hunt.
Yeah. And walking around our neighborhood, I'm seeing a lot of tulips starting to come up, and
I've got the cages on mine to keep
in case.
to keep the deer away. I've got one section they're starting to pop up right in front of my house, and I got to get some netting on there. I've got to take those home. I got to take it home tonight. The deer are going to find them. Yeah, they're gonna be gone.
And they'll be gone.
They'll be gone. How rude.
We can take your calls this morning as we are once again in the studio. Last week, of course, we were out at the Home and Garden Show, and we're grateful for everyone who came out.
That was a lot of fun.
It was a great time out at the show.
Yeah, it was really fun. I had a lot of people come on Saturday, and they're like, "So where did you do the show from?" It's like, right here.
Yeah, it was a good time. And we're back in the studio today, and we have a special guest who is joining us on the line, as Clayton Smith is joining us from Monterey. And he was mentioning to me before we started the show that he's kind of dealing with the same weather we are dealing with, only he's looking at the possibility of snow. Yeah. Is that right, Clayton?
That is. It's raining a little bit outside right now, but later on today, being in the high Sierras, it's going to get a little bit snowy this afternoon.
You guys have caught up on your water year too, haven't you? I know you were a little short there for a while, but the last 2 months it's just like piled up. So
it's made up for it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank goodness too.
Hey, all of our reservoirs are like at what, Will? They're like at
85%.
87%. Yeah, they're all like full, and we haven't even started like spring runoff yet. So we're going to have a lot of excess. Maybe we'll send some your way.
Yeah, and I was just out at your place the other week, and I brought my warm clothes, I brought my turtleneck. I couldn't wear them. It was too warm.
It was nice. Yeah, it was really nice. But we've had cold weather this week. So winter has crept back in. I looked this morning at the mountains just outside my back door, and it's like, oh, man, the snow really crept down last night with the storm kicking in. But it's okay. It's spring. It is March. We kind of anticipate weather like this, but we got some great weather coming next week. So we're gonna be into the 60s by next week. So we're excited.
Well, I'm going to be up in McCall, Idaho, another week and a couple of days. I'll be on vacation, so we're looking forward to it.
That sounds terrible.
Nice.
Yeah. Mark does not take. We don't take many vacations this time of year. So March, April, May, we're kind of there. Yeah, at the store. So we just live there at the store. So, oh well. Clayton, thank you for being on the show. It's great to have you on. I know it's not a yearly occurrence, but at least every other year, if not more frequently. Sure. And Monterey has some great products that we work with that are super, super helpful for a lot of different problems that we have to address as gardeners. And one of the ones that are coming up, I can think of two products that we really got to think about right now. One would be Florel for fruit elimination. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've like blossoms are going to be coming out here in probably the next 10 days to 3 weeks. So 10 to 20 days we're going to have blossoms popping out on trees, and that's the time to prevent fruit on our crab apples and various and sundry trees that are producing fruit that we don't want. That's a really great product, and we've had some great success with it in the past.
Yeah, our PGR. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Our PGR, and it's one of those things that people don't think about till it's too late, and they got to catch it a little bit early, catch it when it's in bloom or in flower, and start spraying it and breaks down the ethylene and just tricks the plant.
Yeah,
that's what it does,
and into dropping its fruit. What's like the critical time to spray? Since our blooms aren't out yet, but they're going to be here shortly, and crab apples are going to be in full bloom by the end of this month. What's the timing, and how frequently should you spray?
Sure, and you want to catch it when it's just in bud, as it just starts coming out, because you got to realize bud flower fruits are technically, because being a plant scientist, modified leaves, and that's how I look at them. So you want to catch them just as they're just starting to come out, and you want to spray them. And what it does, it kind of tricks the plant in thinking they've already been pollinated, so they drop them. And there's this ring called an abscission ring right behind the petiole, and that just kind of swells off and pops them off. And the old adage, one bad apple ruins the barrel, right?
That's what the Florel does, yeah.
Yeah, so it gives off ethylene gas that tricks the whole barrel into prematurely ripened. So Florel, when sprayed on the plant, gives off ethylene gas that tricks the whole plant, thinking it's already been pollinated, and drops the flowers while they're just in bud before they get pollinated.
Right.
And that's what we want to do, is kind of tricks them.
Will it work even after it has set some fruit? I've talked to other users that have said, hey, I sprayed it fairly late, even after some of the fruit had set, and it had dropped some of that as well too.
It can. It can. You just don't want to wait too long, because then that ring gets a little bit solid, a little bit more. So we want to try and catch them as early as we can.
So earlier is better. And one application, right. Are we going to do like two? I mean, because sometimes the bloom period lasts a lot longer. Do you want to like hit them again because like you got another flush of flowers that come out?
Yeah, you can do that about every 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I do get people saying, hey, I see some leaves drop and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. The leaves are going to come right back, and it's actually make the plant a little bit more bushier too at the same time, because it is a plant, a plant growth regulator. So it can make bushier plants. But, spray it a couple times. Spray it every 2 to 3 weeks. And, again, it's just going to drop the flowers. And, again, you'll see some leaves drop. Don't panic. They'll just make a happier plant.
I like that, because we'll have customers that come in and they're like very concerned that their trees are not looking well for whatever reason it is, not necessarily for the Florel, and they're dropping leaves. It's like they'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I know. I get those calls all the time. part of my job now is I answer questions across the United States. People will send me pictures and they start panicking. I said, don't worry about it. They'll be fine. Tell them the answer, and they'll call me back a couple of weeks later. Oh, thank you. The plants are looking great. Send me happy pictures and stuff like that.
So
it's a great thing to see.
So I was out pruning. I mentioned earlier, I was out pruning my peach tree and my nectarine and my apricot last night because there's lots of buds on there. And I pruned, like the apricot, I didn't take too much off because it was structurally, it was looking really good. I had a couple pieces that just were excess growth that just needed to go. But my peach is just taking off like crazy. I probably pruned 30% out of it just because it's going to have so many blossoms on it. It's just like, all right, I got to clean this out. And there was some excess growth, and it's starting to get taller than I really want it to be. So I had to kind of start shaping a little bit more. But the trees actually like it. And you prune some of that excess growth out, and then you just get more strength for production in other places. So it's not hurting your trees to prune them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And also, if you thin the flowers out, you'll get bigger fruit, and you won't get the smaller fruit, stuff like that. It's always good to thin some of the flowers out.
Yeah, and last year, since we had such an odd winter, stone fruits did not flower last spring. Like there were hardly any flowers on them, and very little production. I think I got like 2 peaches off of my 5 trees that I've got. So just not much. So there's a lot of strength in the trees this year, and I think we're going to have a lot of fruit set and tons of blossoms because we had such a mild winter. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And we can use them on our ornamental trees, on the liquid amber trees, to get rid of those, sparky balls. And some of the other ornamental trees.
I've got a lot of customers that use it on maples, and so they'll hit the maples just as the flowers are starting to pop out. And that I've seen a few showing up on trees throughout the city already. So that's kind of starting to happen. Maples and willows are starting to pop a little bit, and so we need to keep an eye on that. So great for maples. Horse chestnut, so you don't have the landmines all over the place. That's kind of what they...
Liquid ambers.
Yeah.
Other things.
We've had pretty good results with locust as well, too. And linden. Yeah, locust and linden.
I love linden trees. One of my favorites.
Oh, they smell so good, but they do drop little helicopters all over the place. And so we've got a lot of people that are like, how do I get rid of those? They're like everywhere. It's like, well, you got to spray them before they really bloom. So, but the Florel, great product. If you're struggling with trees that are setting fruit that you don't want, so crab apples works great on crab apples, maples, the other trees that we've mentioned here, but it doesn't work really great on ornamental plums, I've noticed.
Yeah, I'll take a look into that because we do use it out here for ornamental plums. It seems to be working. It might be timing.
Possibly.
Let me look into that, but it does work in certain areas. But let me look.
Timing is probably critical on that. So
Yes, I think
critical. So. The other issue that we've got coming up shortly, if the trees really start hitting bloom, is fire blight, and you've got some really good options, multiple options on helping with fire blight control. And so again, apples and pears are affected by fire blight. We see it in hawthorns. We see it in a lot of other plants as well too. It gets into pyracantha. We've seen it in cotoneasters. So the fire blight can really do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. It's a bacterial disease, and flowering pear and crab apples. There's some that are really, really susceptible. I had somebody in the store yesterday that was asking for apple varieties that are resistant, and so we kind of went through a lot of the apple varieties that are resistant because they have been fighting fire blight for the last few years, lost a couple trees. They want to put some apples back in that are resistant to the fire blight because it is so devastating when it gets into the plants. But you have some really great ways to protect the plants. But again, you want to be proactive and you want to do it early instead of waiting until you see the fire blight show up.
Yeah, no, I actually wrote a paper on it when I was in college, and that bacteria, that Erwinia disease. What I didn't look at, so I went through my Westcott book recently because I was doing some other research on it, and I forgot to mention that it's a native disease, and it was discovered back in the Hudson Valley River back in 1780.
Ooh,
I
interesting.
forgot totally about. Yeah.
That's been around a long time then.
It has been, and spread all the way back from there all the way across the nation. And it's one of those diseases that the bees are not our friend because it's transmitted, as you know, by bees.
Right.
And this is one of those things where good news, bad news. Good news is it only affects the rose family. Bad news is it only affects the rose family. So
there's a lot of plants in the rose family, so
it is. But it doesn't really affect roses. Some of the older roses, but not a lot of roses. But unfortunately, it affects the prone fruits, so apples, pears, quinces, things like that.
yes.
So,
And we've seen lots of damage. Yeah, last year not so bad. Year before we really saw a lot of fire blight damage. So you're right.
You're right. It wasn't bad last year. It was bad really this year. This year and 2 years prior.
Yeah. So you've got some good options for prevention, and you've got one amazing option for stopping it even after the tree's been infected as well too. So share some information on which products we should use and timing wise how we should go about that. So.
Right. The one that I like, you guys got a great one. You got streptomycin, which does a really, really good job.
Yeah.
And then I like to kind of mix up a little bit, and I like to use our garden phos. And that does a really good job. It's phosphoric acid, potassium salts on steroids. And what it does is just kind of burns that bacteria out. And we like to recommend use it every 7 to 14 days when it's in bloom and doesn't hurt the plant whatsoever. And you got to use it while it's in bloom and spray it while it's active. And it doesn't harm the plant at all whatsoever. And it does a good job at it. And there is no resistance buildup with the acid and the salts at all. And we've been seeing a little bit of resistance buildup with streptomycin, I think, over the last couple of years if you keep using it.
Right.
And all you have to do is use the phos maybe 1 or 2 times, and you break up that resistance buildup. And then you go back to using streptomycin. It's just it just helps build up that break up that resistance.
Yeah, we found that the streptomycin keeps the bees from getting like bronchitis and stuff as well too. So
yeah,
Got to take care of the bees.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite jokes. So anyway, the garden phos is amazing, and I've noticed that actually when you use it on your trees, it makes them healthier. So it's like you said, it's kind of like a steroid. It kind of increases the strength of the plants. So plants that are kind of struggling and fighting off some of these diseases actually improves their immunity and makes them a little bit more resilient as well too. So really quite an amazing product.
Yeah, we use this a lot for root rots as well too, and I think at the top of my head we use like the same thing, about 3 teaspoons per gallon. I recommend 2 times every 3 weeks, and we get one more time 3 weeks after that.
Yeah,
that's a good job.
I love the label on the garden phos because it has just about every single fruit on it. Like you can use it on your bananas and your mangoes. So of course we have tons of those around here in Cache Valley, but it's got a very, very broad label. You can use it on a lot of different things, and it works great on a lot of mildews. And so it's been very effective systemically. You can use it early. For fire blight, we'll use it as a spray, and it really goes a long way as a spray. We'll do it as a bark treatment as well in early season before the leaves and the blossoms even come out, and we'll do that basal bark treatment, which is there on the label as well too. And that's been super, super effective, especially for our customers that have kind of battled fire blight for many years and they just are struggling to get it out of their trees, and it's been super effective.
Yeah, this is probably our largest label. In fact, I know this is our largest label, and this is probably one of the calls I get mostly across the nation is this label alone. So I really go in depth when I talk to people on this. But you're right; it has everything in the world. Everything is in here.
Every edible that I could think of, we're in there. So it's very broad. It's a very, very safe product to use, but super, super effective. I know they've been kind of changing and adjusting the label the last couple of years just a little bit on it. Have they been doing any more research on whether it works on some of the stone fruit diseases, like if it works on bacterial bud blight or shot hole fungus or any of those? I would be very curious to find out if there's any results on that, because that would be super helpful. We have a lot of people that deal with the bacterial bud blight on stone fruits here in the valley.
Well, let me look it up because we are going to go through some more revisions this coming year, and I know Florel, we're doing an update on that label, and let me see if we're going to do an update on this one too, because we do updates every now and then. But I know Florel's coming with an update shortly.
All right, that sounds good. Hey, if you would like to call in and join our conversation, I've got Clayton Smith here from Monterey, and Monterey has some amazing products. We've talked about Florel and Garden Foss, but my favorite product is the Complete Disease Control. We're going to have to talk about that in the next little bit, Clayton. But if you'd like to join our conversation, the phone numbers are 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And it is the bottom of the hour, Will. We probably
right.
better take a little break.
Take a quick news break, and we'll be right back to answer more of your calls here on The Garden Guide on KVNU.
Walter, KVNU News. Senator Chris Wilson, who represents the majority of Cache County for District 2, dropped into KVNU's For the People program on Thursday. During his visit, he talked water and funding for a groundwater assessment in Cache County.
This was a funding request of around $567,000. And let me tell you a little bit how that got started. Last March, I was asked to go to Israel with a water delegation. And Casey Snyder, our representative for the south end of the valley, was the state or the House representative, and I was asked to be the Senate representative on this to Israel. So very, very amazing. We went with a great delegation.
The trip was to investigate how the country that sits in a desert area is able to do so well with the water they have. Wilson said Israel knows where every drop of water is in that country, whether subsurface or above ground. He said in Utah, with the new technologies available, it's time also to see where the water is. The project will be a collaboration with Utah State University, University of Utah, and the U.S. Geological Survey. A dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. Dollar stores are raising prices, but closing stores. After it bought out Family Dollar, the company behind Dollar Tree has floundered. In a recent financial report, it admitted in the last 3 months the company lost $1.7 billion, at the same time announcing that about 1,000 stores will close. There are over 100 Dollar Tree and Family Dollar stores in Utah. It's not known yet how many will be affected. Rain showers in the forecast this weekend. A few snow showers. High temperature Saturday around 50. And showery on Sunday, mid-40s for the high. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
From ABC Sports, I'm Brian Clark. A second #1 falls in the Sweet 16.
Looking to get it in, gets it into Filipowski, just throws the ball into the front court, and it's over. The Duke Blue Devils are going back to the Elite Eight. The 4th seed Duke knocks off the top seed Houston 54-51, and the Duke Blue Devils will play for a trip to the Final Four on Sunday.
The final call of top-seeded Houston's season is heard on Westwood 1 as the 4th seed Blue Devils hold off the Cougars to advance to the Elite Eight. Their opponent there will be a Tobacco Road rival.
Dribbles across the timeline. That's it. NC State with an elite 8th consecutive postseason win for the first time since 1986. The North Carolina State Wolfpack are back in the Elite Eight.
On Westwood 1, as NC State beat Marquette 67-58, they'll try to reach the Final Four for the first time since 1983. In the Midwest region, top seed Purdue handled Gonzaga 80-68. They advance to the Elite Eight. The Boilermakers will face 2 seed Tennessee Sunday. The Vols overcame Creighton 82-75. In the NBA, it was an overtime thriller in San Antonio where Jalen Brunson poured in a career-high 61 points for the visiting Knicks, but they weren't enough. Knicks fell short to a career-high 40 from Victor Wembanyama, 130-126 Spurs in overtime. Elsewhere, the Thunder cruised past the Suns, 128-103. The T-Wolves beat the Nuggets, 111-98. The Rockets won their 11th in a row, edging the Jazz, 101-100, while the Kings fell 107-103 to the Mavericks. The opening weekend of Major League Baseball season continues. The Dodgers doubled up the Cardinals 6-3. The D-backs beat the Rockies by a much tamer 7-3 final after posting 16 runs on opening day. The Yankees thumped the Astros 7-1. I'm Brian Clark, ABC Sports.
Join us each week for Music and the Spoken Word, featuring the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, the longest-running continuous weekly network broadcast in the world. Each episode features modern and traditional arrangements of spiritual, classical, and contemporary music and a timely, inspiring message. Truly an uplifting program that will have you returning to each week. Music and the Spoken Word with the Tabernacle Choir.
Sunday mornings at 8 and again in the afternoons at 6 on News Talk KVNU. From gardening to landscaping, The Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to the show on this rainy Saturday morning. We'll feel right along with Mark Anderson, Clayton Smith joining us from Monterey as we've been talking about all things to help treat your plants as we're beginning this growing season. And we can take your calls at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868 to call in with your questions or comments for the show. And just before we get to some of those questions, Mark, we want to mention, too, that with it being the Easter weekend, a lot of Easter egg hunts, of course, are going to be dealing with some inclement weather, but come down to Center Street.
Yeah, because on Center Street we've got our Golden Easter Egg Hunt, and it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt, and it starts right at Anderson Seed and Garden. So we've got the first clue there at Anderson's, and we'll take you throughout downtown, especially on Center Street, to a bunch of really wonderful businesses that are participating. They've all put prizes together. We have our golden egg that we're giving away. It's kind of an Easter basket, but it's got all kinds of prizes in there, and it's worth about $300 of value, and there's some great things in there. We put in one of our seed collections. It's like Mark's favorites, and so that's one of our seed collections that we sell regularly at the store. We've got one of those in there. It's worth about $20, and then a flat of pansies as well too. And the pansies are like the full flats of pansies go for like $28. So it's almost $50 from Anderson's, but altogether it's over $300 worth of prizes for our Golden Easter Egg Hunt. It's family friendly. This is really should be a good time, and by completing the Easter Egg Hunt, you'll be qualified to win our awesome grand prize. So,
okay.
Yeah. We'll do the drawing on Easter, of course. But,
all right.
Yeah, but it could be a little bit wet chasing around, but you can use an umbrella and you won't be running through really wet grass.
You'll be going inside at times, which is nice.
Yes, it's really good. I just remember the Easter egg hunts last year, and that was in like a foot and a half of snow. so here Easter's earlier, but at least the grass is green. You know,
the Easter Bunny's definitely had some challenges over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been very, very, very challenging. So Golden Easter Egg Hunt at Anderson's. Primroses on sale, $2.25 for our primroses, some gorgeous ones. They can go outside right now. So there's a lot of things you can actually plant outside right now. Here it is, the end of March, and they can still handle our cold weather. Bare root sale going on at Anderson's as well too. So all kinds of fun things going on downtown. It was kind of nice waking up this morning and hearing the rain outside.
Yeah.
You know,
it was.
It was kind of pleasant. You're probably not going to get your 3-mile run in today, though.
No, did it yesterday. In fact, I'll take the rain today because yesterday it was gorgeous.
It was really nice.
Sun was shining, high 40s. We were over at a lacrosse game yesterday afternoon, and we didn't have to bundle up. It was really pleasant.
That's good. Yeah, March sports are in swing, full swing.
Yep.
So
very nice.
All right, we got phone calls coming in, and phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, and we've got Clayton Smith on the line to help answer those calls. But we did get a call through
another one
through the break. So
Lori joining us on the line from College Ward. Lori, welcome to the show this morning.
Hi, thanks. I have a question. When you're spraying your trees, we did the Dorman spray and we put some garden floss in with it, but I'm not sure on the ratio of the garden floss per gallon is. Do you know that?
Clayton?
Well, it depends on what you're. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know, but I'm going to let you answer, so.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to spray for. Generally, I recommend about 3 teaspoons per gallon for the fire blight. Is that what you're recommending?
Yes, we're usually in that 2 to 3 teaspoon range if you're spraying it on. And I know they bumped that up. It used to be 1 to 2, but they bumped it up just a little bit, hopefully for slightly better control on it. So,
right. Oh. And that's what we did. We did some more testing on it, and so we figured out that higher rate does a better job.
Okay, so 3 teaspoons per gallon. And if you're using the streptomycin, what's the ratio for that?
That is 1 tablespoon in 2 gallons. And the streptomycin, you've got to spray it like right on the blossoms when they're open, as it's an antibacterial, antibiotic. It will prevent the infection from getting into the tree. It'll kill it before it gets inside, and the way it transfers from the pollen from the stamens into the cup of the flower usually is rain. And so the critical times to spray with the streptomycin are when the blossoms are open and when it looks like it's going to rain, like the next day. You want to treat it like before it rains, and you want to treat it right after it rains, because as that bacteria spreads around, it gets into the pollen that's on the stamens, and then the bees will pick it up and they'll spread it around from blossom to blossom. So that's where the bees kind of become a culprit, because they spread that around. But it really won't get into the tree until the rain or wind moves that pollen into the cup of the flower, and that's when it really gets infected. So.
Okay. So on the garden floss, if I run out of streptomycin, the garden floss is still 3 teaspoons per gallon, and you spray it on the blossoms as well?
You can spray it on the blossoms. You can also spray it on the leaves, and it'll absorb it in. Since it is systemic, it'll work from the inside out and prevent it from spreading into the tree if it has been infected previously. So. We've seen it actually kind of start into the tree, and then the garden floss like completely stops it so it doesn't spread any further, and that's how it works. Like once those trees get infected, it'll get into the branches, the twigs, and you'll just watch it go from the tips, back into like bigger branches, and then into the main branches, and then all of a sudden it's all the way through the whole tree. So we want to stop it as quickly as possible if your trees do get infected with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you happen to have any other leaf diseases too, black spots, brown spots will also help prevent those as well.
Yeah. Garden Floss is an awesome product, and again, very, very safe to use, very effective on a lot of different diseases, but fire blight is one of the main culprits that we use it for.
Okay, one more question. I want to spray my raspberries for that cane borer.
Yeah.
What do I use for that?
Great question. So cane borer traditionally will attack the berries like shortly after they've bloomed, and so it's usually about mid to late May when that's happening. And so sometime in between Mother's Day and Memorial Day, first part of June, we're going to spray those canes. And then after that first spray, we usually wait about 2 or 3 weeks and then hit it again. They'll be done blooming at that point. But we want to hit it right before they bloom, and you can see when those buds are about ready to pop open. We want to spray it while it's not blooming so we don't bother our bees. And there's a couple different options. Permethrin does a really great job, so you can use anything with permethrin in it. It's labeled for fruits. And then there's some newer generation insecticides that have come out. So the new version of 7 is very effective also for cane borer. Clayton, you've got some different products that are listed for cane borer as well too, don't you?
Yeah, that would be the fruit tree drench. The 0.235 imidacloprid will work as well.
Okay.
And that does a good job on them, and it'll last for a season, 2 to 3 months, and doesn't get into the fruits or anything like that. That does a good job. The Bug Buster 2, the Escalate, which is a permethrin as well, that does a good job.
Yeah. So lots of options, Lori.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds great.
All right.
Appreciate your help.
You're so welcome anytime. You have a wonderful Easter. Thanks for calling this morning.
You too.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our phone lines are open. If you'd like to call in, we've got about 15 minutes left in the show. 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So, all right. Well, Clayton, since we still have you on the line, I was mentioning before the second half of our show, one of my favorite products that you have is the Complete Disease Control from Monterey. One of my favorite products, since it is a biofungicide. It's super, super safe to use on all kinds of edibles, but it's great for, non-edibles, for ornamentals as well too, and it works on so many different diseases. I mean, how many diseases are listed on that label?
So we go from Garden Floss, which is our largest label, to Complete Disease, which is like 1.5 pages, or our most simplest label,
the shortest label.
And it is, and it has almost everything in there. So whenever I give talks, I always have fun with people because I always bring them up. I bring one person up to try and pronounce this active. And as you know, this is a long name on there, and we always have lots of fun with it. But this is one of my favorite ones, too. We were the first ones to bring this out. And it just does an amazing job around the root system, and as well as diseases on the leaf, as well as you know.
Yeah. I use it on my tomato plants every single year as a root drench, because that's where they pick up, the verticillium and fusarium that have decimated our plants before in the past. And ever since I started using the Complete Disease Control, I just don't have problems with diseases in my tomatoes. I think the last time I had problems with tomatoes was probably 7 or 8 years ago, before we started using the Garden Floss. But then, not last year, but the year before, we did have a few plants, but it was like our disease pressure was so heavy on the tomatoes. Not last year, 23, but in 2022, I know so many gardeners lost tomatoes to diseases, but we only lost like 2 out of 30, and it just prevented so many problems on our plants. So super, super effective. So it works on soil-borne diseases. It works on mildews. It works on leaf spots. Does it work on rust too? I've never used it for rust.
It does.
So it's got rust.
So whenever I give talk, I tell people always drench their plants. It's 1 teaspoon per gallon. Put, whether it's in a pot, whether it's in the ground, even on my lawns, I tell them to do it. And I tell them to re-energize it about every 4 months or so. Do another drenching. It doesn't take much. And that the bacteria colonizes around the roots and gives off what we call leptoprotein that destroys all the other ones and feeds off the sugars that the plant distributed out into the soil, because there is no cork at the end of the roots.
Yeah.
And it just likes it there. So just energize it. It doesn't take much. Now, as a leaf disease, it does a great job in your soft funguses, your powdery mildews, your downy and rust. And as you know, rusts are very, very strange, but it does a good job. You just got to make sure you spray the bottom of the leaf. So I was in Philadelphia giving a big talk, and I have a greenhouse on my property that I do testing on. And my kids called me up, my boys called me up and said, "Dad, there's this white stuff growing on your plants." I said, "Okay, grab ball number 4." Because everything was fine before I left.
I love it that you got the bottles numbered.
There was one. And it was a Complete Disease Control. They sprayed it on, and it was gone the next day. Powdery mildew was dead.
Yeah.
But there's no sugars for it to feed off. So whenever you see it, you have to spray it again. But desiccates it right off the bat. But again, as a root control, it will stay there for a very, very long time. You just got to re-energize it every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much, but it does a great job.
It's one of my favorite products, not only because it's super effective and it's very, very safe, but it's also really economic. So it's very economical. It's one of the least expensive products that you get because of the volume of concentrate that you have. So if you're using just a teaspoon per gallon, you can buy a pint for, I think it's around $20 for a pint, and it will make almost 100 gallons. You buy a pint of a copper fungicide, like a copper just a basic copper fungicide. It's $20 for a pint. It's about the same price, but it only makes like 8 to 16 gallons. So you're getting 10 times the volume out of your one little bottle of the Complete Disease Control. And it's organic, so it's a biofungicide. Super, super safe to use on all kinds of ornamentals as well as edibles. The copper is too. The copper is super safe as well. But the sheer volume of product that you get out of it just takes it over the top. It's awesome.
And I use this on my lawn, and I'll spray about 3 times a year because I'll have new roots at new side points as the lawn grows. And I have very little Pythium or Phytophthora on my lawn at all.
Oh, you get all kinds of weird diseases.
Fungicide.
Yeah, in Northern California, you get all kinds of weird lawn diseases we don't have to deal with here. So,
lucky you.
Yeah.
So way to go, Clayton. So we've got 10 minutes left in the show. Phone lines are open if you'd like to join us, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, and we're talking with Clayton Smith from Monterey. One thing I did forget to mention with the Golden Easter Egg Hunt is it does start at 10 o'clock and it goes till 3, and then I was mistaken. My wife said that we are going to announce the winner at 5 o'clock.
Oh, so tonight.
So tonight. Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking we'd like inform people the first of the week, but I was sadly mistaken. So
tomorrow you're going to be too busy eating
I've been
chocolate.
corrected. Yeah, not chocolate. I think we're gonna cook a ham tomorrow.
Okay.
Good old Easter ham. That sounds pretty good.
Yes, it does.
It does not sound too bad. So, any other really cool new products coming? Clayton, it's like I love the Spurge Power is one of my favorites. You've got some really awesome products from Monterey, but anything new on the horizon that we can get excited about?
We are working on a couple. That's what's nice about us. We're not this huge company. We're family owned by the Brandt family that also owns Bicor up there in Logan, Utah as well.
Yes.
And that we can do small things. There are some new things coming up that we're working on. Unfortunately, I signed some very papers in front of lawyers that look at me, so I can't really release them now.
Oh, what? You don't want to break that confidentiality agreement?
But there are some neat things coming down the pike. It just takes time.
It does.
Through testing and everything else like that, because we want to make sure everything's works not only in our side, in the consumer side, but with the ag side as well. So there are some really wonderful stuff coming down the pike, and tell you that. It just takes a little time through testing.
That's cool. I know when Bicor was purchased by Brandt, we were slightly disappointed because we were afraid that things were going to change over there, and it hasn't. It's like such a great company. Yeah. They've been wonderful to work with, and we use so many products from Bicor Monterey in the fertilizer side as well too. So between the all-purpose fertilizer and the liquid and the Pro Bloom, we're using those on our planters and our hanging baskets and all the flowers on Center Street. We use those consistently throughout the summer, and they just keep those suckers blooming and looking great. But Combo Chelate is one of the products we really sell a lot of because everybody's dealing with iron chlorosis and iron deficiency here. So the Combo Chelate's great because it's got the chelated iron plus all the other chelated micronutrients in there as well. But I have to admit, my favorite product is the Tree Treats. The Tree Treats are so unique and so different and so effective that it's got to be my go-to favorite product from Bicor. So.
Yeah, and when I talk about nutrients, I tell them the secondaries are just as important as the primaries. I call iron and magnesium as a choo-choo train in photosynthesis because they pull the other elements around to be photosynthesized to create that bonding, and without them, they wouldn't even happen. Magnesium is the ore car, and iron is the engine, and without those, we wouldn't have photosynthesis even being taking place. And that's why the secondaries are just as important. And that's Bicor has these elements in them. And I created a chart over the week I broke all the Bicor elements out on this chart showing what is in each one of them. And I can send that to you.
Oh, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and what percentage is in each of their products. And it really turned out well. We're going to be using this more with this nutrient deficiency sheet I created with our company.
Well, we've been
be coming out shortly.
I say we've been selling their product for like 30 years now. So they've been around for a long time. stationed right here in Logan. It was Gene Miller, professor at Utah State University, that started Bicor, and he just knew so much about nutrition and nutrients and how they worked in the plants, and they've created some amazing products, and the combo chelate and the tree treats just work in our area when a lot of other products just don't work. Hey, Clayton, we've got another phone call we're going to try and grab really quick.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Barbara's joining us on the line from Logan. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I would like to know, I have a dogwood bush that I cannot get rid of the bugs no matter what I do. I've cut it all the way down to the ground.
And it comes back.
I sprayed it. And, I've sprayed it with so much stuff that I got from you guys.
Which bugs are you going after? So what's attacking your dogwood?
Everything. Last year I had, and the year before I had so many grasshoppers.
Oh, the grasshopper, yeah.
Well, no, and then I had other kind of bugs, beetles, and it seems like everything wants to jump in there and eat it.
Nibble on your dogwoods. So grasshoppers were unusually plentiful last year. That's putting it nicely, I think. And so everybody kind of struggled with the grasshoppers last year, and it was kind of an ongoing process where you had to spray about every other week throughout the summer because there was just so many grasshoppers. Traditionally, the dogwoods don't really have too many problems. We do see like strawberry root weevils get in there and kind of clip the edges, so they'll cut chunks out of the edges. Did you notice that in the past where like the leaves were getting kind of chunked, like somebody took pinking shears around the edges? Is that what you're...
Yes, I did notice that too.
Okay. That's a difficult insect to control because they hide in the ground during the day and they come up at night and they nibble on the leaves. And so you can spray the plant and it will kind of work on them, but you have to treat them in the soil instead. So if you're seeing that root weevil damage, which really looks like somebody chewed the edges right off the leaves, you got to treat the soil. And so any of your synthetic pyrethroids, so like permethrin or bifenthrin or deltamethrin, they all come in liquid and also in powder. You want to treat the ground around the plant in the evening, just as the sun's starting to go down. And you can like water your plants with it if it's a liquid, or you can just like dust it on the ground. And what will happen is the root weevils, as they come up out of the soil, they'll get that insecticide on them, and they won't do any more damage. And if you drench the soil, that's where all the babies are living. That's where all the larvae are. And you can kill off the larvae before they turn into adults, so they don't get up there and nibble on your plants. We see it a lot on... there's a bunch of, like lilacs. We see it on lilacs consistently. They love the lilacs, and they'll just like clip the edges out of the leaves. Roses, they like roses as well too, and they do get into dogwoods as well too. So that's kind of a unique insect to try and control. Same product works on grasshoppers, so you can kind of do a little bit of both. Spray the plants with it, but then mix them up in a watering can and then drench the root system with it, and you'll see a lot better control than what you've had in the past.
I haven't had any control in the past, so that will be a plus.
It will work. Yes, I promise it will. It will help, Barbara. It will help, and hopefully this year we don't have as many grasshoppers. And I did get some bad news this week. Nolo bait will not be available also this year, so we don't have our biological grasshopper control again for the third year in a row. So unfortunately, they still can't get their factory certified, and so they're
Back up and running.
they're just not producing it. So we've got some other options that we are going to provide for grasshopper control this year. So some good baits. Yeah. So Barbara, there's some options for you. So
good. I'll stop in the store. I want to also ask you, when are you going to have your fertilizer available? The liquid fertilizer?
The compost tea.
Compost. Yeah.
You're talking about the compost tea. So looking at the calendar, we are going to shoot for probably the week end of the 19th and the 20th of April, which is like when we do our open house. But I've got on my calendar like I think it's like the 26th of April is when we do our compost tea party, so that'll be our official kickoff. But I do have people buying 2.5-gallon containers already. So I've got customers walking out the door with their 2.5-gallon containers empty,
just ready to
right
bring
now.
Them back.
And so they'll be bringing them back when we start brewing. It's just too cold for it to do anything right now. So end of this coming month, sometime between our open house and the compost tea party. But but you're welcome to come and buy our container now. So I do. I've got people who are like, I missed out on the 2.5-gallon containers last year. I'm buying 2 right now. So yeah, so they're going out the door already. So. Yeah.
Okay, Ed, your ones from last year, your actual 1 gallon ones,
right.
They're not going to be any good. The container itself.
You can absolutely use the container and bring it back in. We will just put a new label on there. So we'll relabel it for you so you can reuse your container. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but what you purchased last year isn't available for this year. So, all right. Oh, and we're done.
That's it.
Oh,
yeah.
Dang it.
So, thanks so much for our guests, and we'll see you next week.